The steamy, electrical discharge danced tenderly along his trembling blue frame as he felt his lower buster charging. And yeah, this ain't fucking funny, it's just disturbing. I guess the net's idea of award-winning fanfiction is out for viable comedy, but there is literally jack shit left to talk about in these videos. I have fucking nothing. What's new about the bosses? They're assholes. Tunnel Rhino in particular is now 10 assholes. He's earned himself the strictest approach of any boss thanks to his improved / actually functional AI, although Catfish still takes more luck. This took as many attempts to get right as some of X6's worst. The luck required here is transcendent. All 8 Mavericks have something they can do to sabotage an attempt behind your back, and of course, because this is how these things work, each and every boss was as big a fucking pain in the ass as they could have been during the successful run. By Blast Hornet, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, and there's more than one instance during this nightmare where I artificially spawn as many opportunities to get fucked over as possible. I could watch this 50 times and still be at a loss for why I was left living by the time Doppler starts his incredibly robust tactic of taking 10 solid seconds to casually float towards you. But as for details, you already have them. You've heard my charmingly acerbic self describe what's worth describing plenty of times by now. I've already filled out 3 or 4 solid hours of empty gameplay by proving I reminisce way too much on a franchise 3 people in New Guinea might not have heard of by now. I couldn't think up a new approach to this any better than I can convincingly fill time by rambling a string of nonsense that could be summed up by saying I got nothing. So where does that leave us? Am I going to expand my horizons beyond the focus of my obsession? Is this going to turn into an eye-opening sermon on some complex political or philosophical issue? Of course fucking not. Instead, we're going to debase ourselves trying to make sense of Mega Man X's beyond retarded plot. The hell do you expect? Let me start off with the least controversial statement ever uttered. Capcom pretending they forged themselves some sort of coherent story here is as big a joke as them thinking they forged a coherent story out of almost anything they produce. Spending time thinking about it, or god forbid trying to give a shit, is time better spent, I don't know, playing with your fucking thumbs or something. But hell, I'm me and there's 14.5 minutes of this crap, so let's dive bomb right in, shall we? Shit started off fairly simple when Capcom had exactly one series and thus one timeline to be concerned about. They were NES platformers. 4 lines of misspelled text were considered Shakespearean for the most part. The archetypal Mad Doctor and the archetypal Boy Wonder were all anyone needed. Timeless games, timeless conventions, everybody's happy. Then the 90s happened, and suddenly kids are all about the extreme movement, which I've no doubt is what Capcom execs called the 90s without an ounce of irony in their voices. They needed something a little cooler and a little sleeker, so they pumped out the first Mega Man X, which I still hold as one of the best examples of expanding a concept done well. This time, storyline took a heavier focus, interjecting itself between segments of gameplay, and it dealt a simple but effective pacing. Of course, there's still not an ounce of depth behind it. That's because there doesn't have to be. It's a fucking rudimentary platformer about conventional heroes fighting hysterically one-sided villains, which, unless you really know what you're doing, is all a player needs to set the pace. X1 recycled the idea of a Razor X-style mentor in the form of Zero, where the originals had Proto Man. It brought in a villain with somewhat more warped goals than Dr. Claw caliber world domination plots, a right jackass of a side villain, and satisfying ties to the original series. Nothing complicated, but plenty satisfying. X2's plot is where we first saw hints of Capcom wanting to take their franchise into a somewhat more ambitious direction by really solidifying the tie-ins between the 2 timelines. It's just your basic Mega Man quota of suspiciously frequent recurring villains and increasingly pathetic minions until the ending, where Sigma has a throwaway line calling Zero the last of the Doctor's creations. Well, fuck, man. Are we talking Wily or are we talking light? Spit something more at us. See, this kind of foreshadowing there's nothing wrong with. I don't mind a long-lasting franchise that retains subtle yet intriguing ties between its many plot lines. It's kept in the background and it's not given detail, but it's there to appreciate and think about. Same with X3, where they build on the background behind Sigma's evil and Zero's eventual destiny. At the same time, the original series is doing just fine keeping its own simplicity, if not its refreshing gameplay, and adding a cool new anti-hero or 2. And then the PlayStation came, and so did Capcom's descent into the realm of thinking they can write. Apparently after Resident Evil and a few Jill sandwiches, the Capcom executives all sat down and decided that their brand of haunting emotion, intricate plotting, and Oscar-quality voice work was the direction all of their flagships needed to take, after no doubt eating their own shit and sniffing each other's asses a little. And so we got X4 and Mega Man 8. Now, far be it from some peon like me without a solid background in anime to judge two wannabe offsets of it, but I'm pretty sure even that one creep in high school who painstakingly translated every bootleg series he imported for himself in Babelfish could recognize how beyond painful every second of attempted, anything really is in these stories. Capcom, try to realize certain concepts that should really be common sense to most functioning humans. Fans of a simple, tried-and-true approach do not care about some Irish bint with torpedo shells for a skirt becoming the main badass's love interest. They don't care about an Australian lunatic faking a Russian accent and his incredibly thought-provoking theory that maybe you were the evil ones all along. They don't care about giving some guy who voiced Elmer Fudd after Mel Blanc passed away another paycheck by having him imitate Father fucking Christmas. They certainly don't give a shit about trying to instill any sort of plot into a Mega Man game that isn't shoot bad guy until dead, watch blow up, roll credits, unless you can pull off the believability. And well, you can't. Let me try to sum up the PlayStation's illumination of the franchise as respectfully as I can. Buckle up, this is gonna be one long fucking attempt.